Hey, hi Taylor.
Hi, sorry, I
Hi.
got a bit distracted doing
Ah,
my cleaning.
how are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I still have to finish the dissertation, so
So do I, yes.
yeah. So I was thinking, uh, because you were coming today, I thought, well, I can work on the dissertation after she comes, and then we do the discussions, and then I join again. So yeah,
Yeah.
goodness, it's just so long. I
I know, it feels like a very tedious, long experience.
Yeah,
Sort of
it's
what I'm
just
over with now.
goodness. I knew it would have been a challenge for me, but I didn't know it would be that
Mm,
much of a challenge. But-
yeah, literally. The thing is, like, obviously, I have Stefan for my
Oh, you do?
um supervisor, and he's very nitpicky, which I guess is a good thing. Don't get me wrong,
Hmm.
but yeah.
Yeah. But I am with Andy, and
Yeah.
he's been helping me, or supporting me rather, ever since the summer. But because my dissertation is so linked to my practice, it has been evolving as my practice. So I've been writing things that were relevant before, but are not relevant now anymore. So it has been
Oh, I see.
changing. Like I'm on version 9.
Oh God.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
guess this
No,
is this is it.
mine's literally I've changed the topic twice. I've rewritten it probably twice as well. I
Yeah.
just keep because I guess I'm nitpicking as well. I'm like, no, like I want to change this.
Yeah.
I'm not happy with it. I want it to be different. Anyway, talk to me about your womanhood project.
Yes. So this one is what I'm exploring within the university as well. So I'm
Mm,
bringing Wombenhood into the degree course as a way to, you know, make use of this time in a clever way as well.
yeah.
And ever since lockdown, the first one in when was it, March?
Yeah.
Ever since that happened, I've I've always wanted to collaborate in general, in other art projects and collaborative
Yeah.
environments, but since the moment of complete isolation, I really felt the need to do something, both for me, but in my practice, to
Yeah.
try and include that aspect that I really felt important. So I started engaging in so many collaborations around the world, really.
Yeah, I remember you partially speaking about all your clubs that you was doing, and I remember seeing you posting about them and stuff. It looked like you was having a great time.
Yeah, it was actually really fun, and it was nice to be busy in that sense, having something to do that
Mm,
didn't took so much effort, but it was good for me, to be
yeah,
creative and active critically, think
yeah,
and critical thinking as well.
yeah.
So
Major important part, isn't it?
yeah, because well, ever since the beginning of uni, we've been placed in this moment where we have to be these creative beings, very critically
Mm.
thinkers, basically. Um, so it felt so strange being alone and in silence.
Yeah, something I really struggled with for my sort of projects is this aspect of being alone, because a lot of my artwork is about, and just like the study that I take on is very much about social interaction of the internet, but how it manifests in our actual real lives. And real life just sort of doesn't exist at the moment. Like that that actual social side of like manifesting relationships, friendships, um, all of that sort of that stuff's just, your
It's
family side, yeah, is still there, but do I really want this to be very autobiographical and just about me and my life at home and my family? No. You know.
that's something I've been thinking as well. So before, I always thought that I had two practices in parallel. One very much in introvert and that looked at my personal emotions and stuff.
Mm,
I was making objects or videos or, yeah, objects, let's say things.
mm.
But then that wasn't enough anymore because I didn't have anything to talk about. Nothing happened
Yeah,
apart from
literally.
total nothing. So,
Yeah, and the thing is, I know that they say like, I think I think that everyone was a little bit had like their hopes up a little bit more for you and I, because obviously of the way that we do manifest our practice and the mediums that we tend to
yeah,
use. And it's
that's
like, yeah, I can go away and do it myself, and I was doing it before, but like a lot of it is very sociological as well. Like if I don't have a
yeah,
sociological aspect, what do I have to make art of? You know?
true. So in a sense, I needed to decide, okay, I can just look at the past and make things based on what happened instead of
Mm,
what's happening. But then that wasn't enough. That wasn't, after participating to all of these collaborations, and they were always asking to look back. Everything was based on, oh, how was the world before, with this sort of desire that of this situation to change ever so
yeah.
fast. But I feel that this is not going to change for years.
I agree. I think that this is the new reality,
This is
and that,
reality.
yeah, this is the new reality, and we're very much right now having to evolve. This
I
is,
think
I guess,
so.
in a sense, as a part of our evolution as a race. We've just got to
Yeah,
do it.
I think the same. And therefore, I was thinking, okay, so if I have nothing to say right now, and I don't have anything coming from me personally that can be become that can become an object or something, what can I
Mm,
do as an artist in this practice? That before I was certain that, there could be uh, residencies or opportunities to make new work based
yeah,
on the topic. You can always invent something. But now I've witnessed the change of the world in front of me, as everyone has.
yeah,
And there is this massive fear that the art and the institutions of art are going to collapse. They haven't been supporting artists. They are closed, and they don't have online programs, or they are
yeah,
just starting. They are still, the majority of them, they're still thinking that we're gonna change to the old normal, and
yeah,
therefore there are open calls ongoing that then they're going to be closed because it's not possible to do face-to-face things.
yes.
And it feels like everyone is deciding not to believe that this is reality.
Yeah, pretty much everyone's sort of postponing it, aren't they? In
Yeah.
hopes that eventually at some point in the
Yeah.
near future it's going to be like, boom, we're back to normal. And it's like, no, it's not.
No, exactly. So I was thinking, all right, this is the scenario. I am seeing that.
Mm,
Assuming that I am right, what can I do? So I've decided to look into social engage art, to because my need as a person was to engage, was to
yeah.
be with someone, being part of something, even if remotely. This is
Yeah.
now. Zoom is the way we communicate and interact and go to event and have parties. This is our life.
Yeah, no, you're very right actually. I saw somebody hold a drum and bass sort of like musical
Yeah,
event on Zoom, and it was a bunch of random people who didn't know each other,
yeah.
or just vibing out to someone mixing drum and bass over Zoom. Which was quite funny. But
Like
yeah,
my neighbors' kids, they are having drama classes and music classes and dance classes on Zoom.
wow.
So even education is slowly, but is sort of accepting this reality.
Yeah,
And I thought, all right, I wanna also be part of this. I don't want to. I don't like the idea that art shouldn't exist anymore because we can't go physically into an art gallery. And I think it's
yeah,
silly to think that way. So
I
I
agree.
decided to look at some topic-based discussion, conversation, because this is what we can do that was relevant, universally relevant, that could bring some nourishment in some sense,
Yeah,
to kind of emancipate a topic and to create this sort of group of discussion based conversation. And Yeah, so I've very kind of randomly I've met Rianne, the person I'm collaborating with, and we started conversing over the summer. We wanted to do something together. We didn't know exactly what. And
Yeah.
then one day we both had the period and we were in pain. Like, "Ah." So as a joke, we said, "Oh, maybe we should do something about menstruation." Ha ha ha. And then that idea didn't left me for weeks. And then
Yeah.
I thought, okay, maybe this is a topic which is universally relevant. Maybe this is something that it doesn't matter the religion you're in or the country you live in or which language you speak. It doesn't matter really because pretty much everyone either knows about menstruation because they've witnessed it or they have
Yes.
experienced it in their bodies. So I thought, well, all right, let's have a look. And uh, I was invited to do what's it called, an Instagram takeover,
Oh, right.
and it was very informal thing. They've asked me, Val, do you want just to take our Instagram for a day and talk about your practice? And I was like, wow, okay, I am changing my practice, but let's have a look. And then in that, I had a month
Mm.
to think about what to post. And this project was just starting. This idea was starting. We didn't have Wombenhood. We didn't have a thing.
Yeah.
I thought, well, all right, let's taste this. I'm gonna do a soft launch of this idea of a group, idea of a project, and if someone replies, maybe there is room to grow. So I did it very as best as I could without having. I was very honest. I didn't have a title. I didn't have a work, but I knew I wanted to talk about menstruation and menstrual cycles, and therefore menstruality is a nice word.
Yeah.
And then people started replying, saying, "I'm interested. Just book me in. I want to stay. I want to stay." So we've got this list of people now, and I was thinking, right, okay, so it's not just me. It's not just Rianne. It's more than two people that are
Yeah.
interested in talking about that. So right, let's have a look.
Yeah,
Let's
go.
make it. And yeah, so now we've came up with this concept called Wombenhood Exploring the Field of Menstruality, which
Mm.
is the container to embed different topic specific projects or collaborations.
Yeah.
And the first one is the DIY Knicker Kit Project,
Oh,
which
okay.
we are running from January till March, and that will form the exhibition for the degree show, whatever is going to be. Yeah, yeah, no trouble.
Yeah.
Do you need to take that?
No, 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 it was just a text message. Carry on, however.
Yeah, so bearing in mind that I had to produce something for the degree,
Mm.
I still wanted to explore this collaborative, conversation-based project and yeah, collaboration. So it's quite ambitious, I think, but I've been heavily researching this sphere of social engaged art, and I have been finding other people, critics and theorists that talk about social engaged art based on dialogue and conversation. So there are institutions that welcome this type of art, and there are critics that have talked about this, and they've
Yeah.
tried ever since 1960s and 70s. They've
Mm.
tried to form an understanding and of what is conversation based art and how it is art at all. So it's very nourishing knowing that I'm not alone in this idea of conversation as a form of art practice and
Yeah.
process. So it's still emerging, and this is project number one. But
Yeah.
yeah, and then this idea of having these open-ended spaces, it's a little bit like the artist studio. You know, I don't have the need of a physical studio where to make work because I don't make work as a physical object, but is the conversation that we are having is the practice
Yeah.
in the studio.
It's the
So I
dialogue.
thought, yeah, so I thought this could be an excellent opportunity to test this idea of post studio practice because I found the
Mm.
term for that as well. Um, But also I feel that in this research of this type of social engaged art, I think it's important to link it to everyday life and
Yeah,
to people that don't usually engage with art. So even the use of specific terminology, I'm trying to avoid that.
oh really, just to make it a
Yeah.
little bit more understandable for the general.
To make it digestible for everybody, you know? That's why
Yeah,
I think the academic writing and the academic sort of text that you find in galleries like the press release,
yeah.
they are very highbrow.
It's very, yeah, it's very highbrow, and it very, the thing is, when it comes to galleries and museums, obviously they want to attract a certain audience, so they're going to keep it very much with that sort of dialect, because they want to attract the right people, the people who are interested, the people who get it, the people who are educated, etc. You know, galleries have always been like that for centuries, so
Yeah.
I think avoiding that is going to make your project a lot more approachable for a majority of people, especially because when it comes to menstruality,
Mhm.
like everyone, every female, you know, suffers with it to an extent, or has had issues, or an experience with it, so
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
needs to reach the masses to an extent.
Yeah, precisely. And also, a thing that I've noticed of some social engaged projects is that, say, a gallery wants to do a program based around the local community,
Mm,
and artists which are not from the local community get invited because they've got a big name, for example,
yeah.
and they are asked to engage with the community that they don't know about, that they have no experience of living in this specific community,
Mm.
and in a sense they are overimposed as these, no, I don't know, the artist as the kind of guru that should know
Yeah,
answers to the problematics of a community. So it's a very disengaging strategy to me, unless
no, I see what you mean, because a perfect example would be I forgot his name. He's the artist who just as a female sometimes. I forgot his name. Could you?
the, describe something.
He's done a bunch of documentaries. He's really. Let me have a little Google.
Mhm.
Um. Damn it. All right. Let me Google.
Yeah, yeah, there's no rush at all.
Grayson Perry. There we go. I can't believe I forgot Grayson
Ah,
Perry. But Grayson Perry did a series with Channel 4 where he was going into the communities. Um. One in particular was about masculinity and male sort of culture. And he went to like this mining community and was going around finding out all these little snippets and stuff, and then eventually create a vase, and it'd be some sort of homage to the things that he'd learned. But it's like he was coming in as this sort of savior sort of figure, like, here's a piece of art that it embodies your community, I did it, here it is, like, so
yeah,
I understand what you mean.
yeah. Can you share this link to the chat? Then later on I can put it in the resources.
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
get the documentary actually
And
for
you
you.
know, I've been there is a person I've been researching quite heavily, is Grant Kester, which
Mm,
is a theorist, and he wrote about dialogical art, so art based on dialogue. And he brought as an example a collective, a group that operates in Africa, and
right.
their work is always linked to some object that is useful for that community, and usually is around the wells, because
Yeah.
these nomadic people, they live in small tribes. Oh, thanks, brilliant.
That's all right.
um, that's it. They live in small tribes, and their daily lives is pivoted around bringing water into the village, and
Mm,
sometimes water is miles and miles away. So for example, they were creating these very functional structures, like structures around the well, for the women and the young people to
Mm.
go and take the water. So they had shelves for the vases or jars, they've got a specific name, to be
Yeah.
placed upon so that they could, put them on their, I think they put them on their heads.
I
So
think, yeah, I partially know what you're on about.
it was very, very much functional, but it was created around their lives
And
to
their needs.
improve their lives and their needs. And it was based on the conversation that happened around those communities. And that even if the artist is um, from outside, is an outsider of that community, but he
Mm.
places himself or herself in that space for years, it becomes part of a community, and
Yeah.
his approach is functional to the needs and necessities of this specific group of people. So in a sense, I really wanted to find some topics that I could bring with me in the different cities, nations, countries, wherever, so that I wasn't an alienating artist coming in like, hey, I know everything.
Yeah.
Just follow my directions and we will be art together. It's very, very eyebrow and a little bit pretentious, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is why, I mean, certainly there are many topics that are universally relevant, but I thought this was very pressing for me personally, so I decided to start
Yeah.
with this one. And also it was very confusing and difficult to understand a dialogue based practice without having a project to make a paragon, a comparison, or attempt stuff. So
Yeah, I imagine you're very much used to sort of going through that experimental developmental
yeah,
process of actually coming to a final outcome
yeah.
rather than viewing something in a form of art itself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Initially, this line of thought started ever since June. And before, my dissertation was to be all theoretical. So it was like, what is the academic submission, classic stuff. And then it evolved being a case study. But then it wasn't possible a case study because the project is ongoing now. So, oh God, what do I do? So now it's basically about what is dialogical art and social engaged art,
Yeah.
who are the people I talk about, and how am I taking their um, theories into my practice. And then Wombenhood is kind of a little appendix at the end. But yeah, I think all this year has been focusing around this type of art and Wombenhood. And so yeah, for now we are talking with a group of people that engaged with the post in September, the
Mm.
Instagram takeover. So they are the group forming the DIY Knicker Kit Project.
Yeah.
And this space here, the open-ended Monday, the open-ended space is open to general people, audience, and even the participants to Wombenhood's projects. As I, I I am welcoming anything really here.
Well, yeah, I think with the topic that you're sort of looking at and the projects that you're forming, um, everyone has an opinion on it. Everyone's sort of welcome to sort of say their piece. They need to be, I mean, if it's an open-end conversation as well, because um, I think the varying experiences from everyone can be very surprising.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had some crazy experiences when it comes to menstruality, some that have been harrowing in themselves. So when you speak of obviously menstruality, I'm guessing you're very much keeping it very open to sort of talk with everything, because obviously I think menstruality covers, you know, contraception, abortion, pregnancies, all of those sort of things, everything that happens within the womb,
Mhm.
you know, of fertility and like reproductiveness.
Yeah, it's focused on everything, on the experience of the menstrual cycle
Mm.
and before that as well. So I would really much welcome even young people to talk about this. And in a
Mm.
sense, I I've been talking about this topic for months now, and many people have said that they felt that there is a need to bring this topic into the education, for example, like sex.
Yeah. That I can agree
It
with.
would have helped me, to be honest, quite a lot. And
Yeah. Do you know, this is quite funny. This is a funny little anecdote for you, but I remember, obviously, you know, when you're in school and you're having like, yeah, puberty talks and your sex education, and they're telling you about, this is what's going to happen, this is a period, this is what happens, you know, it goes boom, there's loads of blood, and then it goes away and it's fine, and you get some craps, but you can take some paracetamol. I must have been like 11, and I knew that this was a thing. My mum started her period when she was 10, so I was aware that I could have started quite young, but nobody told me that it could be brown. So there I am, 11 years old, I start my first period, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm shitting myself. I
yeah.
really thought that like I must have had like a hole in my vagina, like there was poo coming from my vagina, and actually no, it was blood. It was just that it oxidized, but I just wasn't aware because I didn't have any cramps or anything. And I remember I kept this whole period a secret, and it must have lasted for like a few days. I
Oh,
didn't tell my mum, I didn't tell anyone. I genuinely thought that I had an issue with my vagina, and that I was like, something had gone wrong, like. And then it happened again a month later, and I was like, oh, okay, no, I think this is a period. And I had to tell my mum. But like at school, they don't tell you just those little details. They don't tell you it can be brown, blood oxidizes, it can be heavy, it can be light, it can have clots in it. They just say you will bleed for
mhm.
XYZ, and then that's it.
Yeah.
So I think these conversations really need to be picked up and brought into schools, and just into the family home as well. Talk to your
Mhm.
daughters about it. Like I was very fortunate to have a mum who was very open to talk about and be like, look, I was 10 years old when I got my first period, so we need to have this conversation. She didn't quite go over the fact that it can be brown. So didn't avoid that, but I was a little bit more comfortable with the idea. It wasn't like this big like, oh my god, I've started my period, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, this sort of conversation does need to be brought into a comfortable space, because yeah,
I
I think
think
it would help a lot of people.
I went into a particular school and we didn't have sex education at all. Not
Oh
that I can
really?
remember really. Yeah, I went into the Waldorf school, which is a method basically quite philosophical, uh, hinged around the play and art, creativity. So
Well,
probably because which oh, phone. At which age did you start sex education in school? Was it high school?
I know I started in year 6, so about 10 or 11. No, 11, 12, sorry, because then I went to big school. So yeah, 11, 12.
Mhm.
So I sort of like learn about reproductiveness and like periods and puberty
Mhm.
at my first last year of primary school.
Oh, yes, yeah.
Yeah.
But I understand that there is, even in Italy, as far as I can tell, there
Mm.
isn't rich sex education, and also this topic is not discussed in the home family, you know.
Yeah.
Unless I was lucky that we are a family full of women,
Yeah.
so it was very much known that cramps exists and all the pain related to it.
Hmm.
Asking for tampons wasn't sort of shameful act, but I remember going into high school that there was this routine, this kind of ritual of hiding the pad, making sure
Yes.
never to
No,
wear
I did the same.
colors and all of
Hmm.
that. You had I and then this translated into the adulthood. So for example, I suffer quite heavy cramps,
Yeah.
and I have never thought that I could or should have taken days off because of that. So I always
No,
stopped
I
myself.
the same. I the same.
So in a sense, I've always had to take painkillers. I do take paracetamol because ibuprofen doesn't work on me for some reason.
Oh, I usually tend to take both together.
Oh,
That works well. Yeah.
that's like super hit.
Yeah.
I've got my kind of magic, which is the paracetamol.
Mm.
I'm really taking into consider. I've tried to put even natural remedies, more like I've got one thing called the moxa, which is a Chinese stick. It's like a cigar,
Mm,
and you burn it and you place it very close to your skin where you've got the cramp, and you feel
right.
nothing. So it's hot. It's this very, very hot piece of, I don't know which kind of herbs are in there, but then
Mm,
you feel nothing where you feel pain, and then slowly it really feels like it's filling up with something. And Chinese, they call that it fills back with energy, and then it comes to your skin level, and you feel the heat, and then you move it away in another place, and it does the same thing. So
that
I
sounds
use,
quite interesting. I'm quite big on like energy, spirituality, is like a little bit of my
right.
personal life. So that sounds, yeah, that sounds quite cool.
I can well, I've brought them back with me from Italy.
Yeah,
I'm sure you can find some, or I can give you one if you want.
I'd love that. Honestly, anything, anything that you've got on it, any links, anything.
Right. Okay. So let me put this down, because at the end of these sessions here, I like to put a list of every link,
Yeah,
nice thing.
yeah, because I do get quite bad cramping. Not I have what is called a coil, the IUD, um, and traumatic experience in itself. That was horrifying. I basically went into like a mini labour, ended up in urgent care.
Oh,
thought thought I was going to give birth to this bit of plastic that was inserted inside me.
oh my god.
Yeah, it was funny because the nurse actually said to me, just take some paracetamol and you'll just get some cramps. It'll be like period pains. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I can deal with my period pains. Like, I've done it plenty of times before, but I knew not to just take paracetamol because I don't do nothing. So I
Yeah.
took the ibuprofen as well. And it's like a plastic tube and they push it through your womb. I've never had a child. My womb is, I'm a tiny human. You've seen me, I'm
Yeah.
very petite. So I imagine the same for my womb. And they pushed this plastic tube through my womb, and the feeling of it was like cutting chicken,
Mad.
with a knife. Like, yeah, like I felt that,
Oh
and
wow.
it was uncomfortable, not painful. They put the IUD in, they took it out, and I was very tense, but it was fine. And I left, and I'm sat in my friend's car, and I'm starfishing, and I'm like, okay, no, it's hurting. I'm getting cramps now. And then fast forward 16 hours later, I'm like 3 codeine tablets deep, 2 ibuprofens, 2 paracetamols, and it's done nothing. I'm still in agony.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a boiling hot bath. I come out with beef skin where it's like patchy redness. Didn't do anything. Went to urgent care, and they sort of said that this was normal.
Oh
And
my.
I was like, okay. And the way that I was describing the pain to them, they said to me like, you're having what is like a contraction, and your body is obviously reacting to the plastic and it's probably trying to get rid of it,
Yeah.
but take some naproxen. And I'm like, wow, I'm really doped up and everything. Take
Yeah.
some naproxen, and you'll be fine. And I was like, okay. So I took the naproxen, and for about 3 months after, well, that's a lie, for about a year after, I was on and off of codeine and naproxen for the pain.
Wow.
Yeah. um I've had it for about 2 years now, and my body sort of regulated it to the extent that like I have a cycle now. I bleed every 4 weeks, not extensively, very much lighter than what it was before.
Mm-hmm.
I should say that the reason why I got it was because I was taking contraceptive pills. I tried 3 different ones and had an injection, and my periods were still lasting for 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I got the IUD because they said that it should ideally stop them because it's directly in my womb. I was getting so poorly. I was so ill. I lost like a stone in 3 months from the blood
Wow.
loss. Yeah. Um, but sorry, sort of lost my head a little bit there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the pain that I still feel now, 2 years later, I still get that contraction like pain. I literally have to like I squat on my floor, and I'm literally like bouncing, like trying to breathe
Yeah.
through it. I don't get that too often, but I did have it recently, and it sort of just reminded me. I was like, God damn, I hate being a woman. Like, this is awful. Yeah, really. Yeah, I've had some bad experiences myself, which is why I was so interested in coming to talk about it. But this, what was it you said it was called again?
Moxa.
Moxa. Yeah, that sounds something like I very much like to try,
Yeah.
because I feel like I spent a good chunk of my life living on pain relief, and I don't like that
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. I definitely I I didn't have a bad experience like that one, but
Mm.
on the 1st of August, I cannot forget that day. This year, 1st of August, I had my period, and then I started having what I recognize as contractions myself. This
Yeah. No,
very
I completely
pain,
believe they are. Yeah.
kind of leave and then come back.
Yeah, that is
Like
contractions, a
exactly like
hundred
this.
percent.
And I was sweating cold. I lost the sense of time because for
Yeah,
me, every contraction was an hour long. Well,
yeah,
maybe it was 2 hours, I don't know. I was absolutely, I felt shivering and
yeah,
cold and in pain. I wanted to scream. I was just calling for help. Tom was here with me, so he was able to calm me down and
yeah,
help me breathing and coming back to a state of decency in a sense. And I didn't know what the hell was happening because it never happened before. I suffer from pain, but it's not that kind of thing. And I was
yeah,
horrified. I thought, right, I'm gonna have something wrong here because that's not possible.
yeah.
It's not
You do.
normal.
You think there is something wrong with you because you're like, well, the way that like it's talked about in books, in the media, in
Yeah,
education, the way that we've been formed to believe is it's just a period pain. It's fine. Take a pain relief and you'll be okay. You can
yeah,
just do what you need to do. And actually, no, it could
yeah.
be quite debilitating,
It is.
especially because no one talks about the fact that, like, it's not just in your stomach, it's in your legs, it's in your thighs, it's in your sides, it's in your back, sometimes even in your bum hole. Like, you feel it everywhere.
I've got migraines out of it.
Yeah,
So
that's common as well.
my
Yeah.
reaction to everything is migraine. So I think ever since I was 15, since I had my period, which I think was around about that time, I started having migraines and I never recover from it.
Yeah.
So I every time, every two days before my cycle begins, so I start bleeding, I've got migraines, and then around about the day 12 and 14th of my cycle, I've got migraines. And this is, I can put some money into that and it would
Yeah.
be fantastically correct. Then I suffer of pain, cramps, migraines, headaches. uh, I luckily I don't have like pain in my legs, but in the lower back it's a constant thing. I've got always my
Yeah.
things. I've got my bottle of water, my the moxa there. I've got creams and stuff. But then after that episode in August, I decided to go to the doctor. I went to the GP. And I've told her everything. I mean,
Mm.
phone calls because there is a pandemic ongoing.
Yeah.
So I had to decide, to wait until February 2021 to have a how do I say, gynecological visit, or to
Mm.
go private. So I said, right, let's go private. If I have something, it's better if I know now.
Yeah.
I went there, we did a scan and nothing happened. Okay, first thing I was told, I've asked her, what can it be? All right, it could be endometriosis, which is very
Yeah.
common. It can lead to infertility, but it's very common.
Yeah.
So,
They don't even really fully understand the whole disease
there is
itself. They don't
there,
even.
it doesn't show in any way. Now I know, after I've been doing so many things, I've been told by different people that it doesn't show on the scan, and the only way to
Please don't
actually
tell me that, because that doesn't reassure me.
well, there is a huge misinformation, and I don't even know if what I've been told is correct, because I've been told this by different medical people
Mm,
from Italy, from here to UK, and
yeah.
everyone seems to have a different opinion,
Yeah.
which is not very scientific in my view. But
No, it
I
tends
am
not to be.
ignorant in this field, although I have experienced stuff. But Anyway, I've been doing tests for endometriosis. I've been doing the scan to see if something showed up. So luckily I don't have any cancer or things that shows up. I done a blood test that proves that there isn't any cancer cells or
Yeah.
endometriosis and anywhere in my body. So that should be covered, I dearly hope. So I was saying, all right, what was that then? I had one day, I was dying. I felt it as if I was giving birth because this is it. And
Yeah.
there was nothing. Oh, well, wait, it must be
Yep.
a hormonal imbalance.
Yeah.
But that doesn't match because I use the Natural Cycles app since 4 years now.
So
And
there isn't, yeah.
I have got a super cycle. It's perfect. My
Yeah.
body temperature is always very constant. The ovulation days are kind of very, it's perfect. It cannot be hormonal imbalance if my hormones react perfectly
Yeah.
in that one time. So I decided to go and talk about some other type of medical people. So I discussed with a homeopathist in Italy,
Mm.
and I asked her, okay, same thing. I'm giving you all the information. This is the scan. This is the blood test result. This is everything I've got. What was that? And she gave me an amazing description. She said it could be two things at this point, or you had an abortion or other extra uterus pregnancy, or it could have been a follicle that exploded in your ovaries. And that one is it. To me, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it, because I know exactly I didn't have it was impossible,
That makes that would make a lot of sense.
the explosion of a follicle. I've been studying a lot the process of the follicle, their creations and everything. So there is some amazing. So first of all, I don't know if you know, all people, they're born. We are born with all the
With-
eggs we will ever
yeah.
produce, right? And our eggs, we were an egg inside of our mom, and in the same moment inside of our grandma. So these eggs have
Yeah.
been moving from body to body till arriving to us. So we will have, I don't know, say usually it's around 400 cycles, therefore 400 eggs, which
Hmm.
are follicles in the ovaries that every month one get
One comes out.
comes out in a form of an egg, which is fully
Mm.
formed. It travels in the
In
tubes,
them.
it goes
Yeah.
into yeah, and then the menstruation happens when it's discarded because no fertilization has occurred.
Mm.
So that the explosion of a follicle that happens in this kind of way
Hmm.
in one day of the menstruation day number one, it made total sense to me,
Hmm.
right? So I've decided to start this homeopathic treatment to, let's say, rebalance the status quo in my body. So it's not changing my hormones. I'm not putting any hormones in myself because
Yeah.
I don't think I need them because I'm so regular and all. I do experience period pain, but the massive issue that I've been reading even about is that there is a lack of communication and understanding of the levels of pain and what's normal. What is
Yes.
my normal the normal, or is it
Yeah.
abnormal? How do you describe pain?
That is very, very true.
Mm.
Yeah. The
So
thing
yeah.
is, I don't think there is. I don't think I really know of a lot of women who have normal pain. Do you know? Like, I think some people, like the women who have lesser pain, are probably sort of seen as like, oh, you're just lucky, because there's a big majority that are like, I cannot leave my bed, you know. But what you said about the endometriosis not coming up on the scan is actually quite scary,
Yeah.
because when I was on my mini pill, which is the progesterone only, because my mum had a blood clot when she was younger, which means I can't take the combination,
Mm.
um, in risk of
The
getting a blood
combination is
clot.
when you've got both the progesterone and estrogen,
Yeah,
right?
that's both. So I can only take progesterone because I have to lower my risk of getting a blood clot.
Yeah.
And I originally started with the injection. Perfect. And it worked perfectly for a year. And then I went on holiday. And the funny thing is, again, they say to you that this works in a way where you'll have irregular bleeding for the first year, and then after that it will regulate. I had no periods at all for a whole year, and then it started to irregulate. So I went the opposite way, which they didn't seem to understand why my body did that, but it did.
Yeah.
And I went on holiday with my ex-partner at the time, and I was wearing a lovely white dress, was going down to dinner. Massive set of stairs coming down from the hotel, because we was in like this crater, well over 200 stairs. I must have got halfway down, and I was like, oh dear. And he's like, what? I was like, I've just come on my period. And by the time I got back up to the hotel room, it was coming in like waves. There was that much. By the time I got to the hotel room, it was down my legs. I was dripping onto the floor. It was like my whole legs were covered. I was so embarrassed. I didn't know what was going on. And I went back and I told them, and rather than them sort of saying to me, let's give you a scan, let's find out what's going on, they should take the pill. Change your contraception, take the pill.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So I did that, changed my contraception, and then next 2 years I was bleeding for 3 weeks out of 4. Very similar experiences as well, where it'd be like a rush, just a gush, irregular gushes, very heavy. And they just kept changing my pill. And I said, it got to the point where I said to them, I was like, look, don't want a pill anymore. Like, I want you to find out what's going on, because this amount of, because it was very clotted as well, which is why I suspected endometriosis, because obviously the pain I was having anyway, and because I know that with endometriosis it's like a scar tissue, and the clots that I was having looked very much like flesh.
Skinny. Yeah.
Yeah, like flesh. It didn't look like clotted blood, it looked like a lining of some sort, and I was like, no. So I asked to have a scan, and they basically said, just try your pill. So I brought my mum with me. I was 20, I'm 23 now, I must have been 20, 21. And so I brought my mum with me, because I felt like I had to have my mum there for them to listen to me. I had to have somebody who was my guardian, whatever you want to say. I had to have someone else there that had had a baby, that had dealt with everything you can imagine to do with a womb, and sit there and say to this doctor, she needs a scan. So that's what we did. We asked as well about getting HPV screening, just in case if the irregular bleeding was due to obviously anything like that. And they turned around and said, if I had contracted HPV, my body would have got rid of it. So no. And to pay privately, pretty much. And my mum said she would, and I said, like, look, they said that they'll send us for the scan. I'd rather just go ahead and do that. And something else that annoyed me was when I spoke to the doctor, it was a woman this time. The other times it was always this one male doctor, but this time it was a woman, because he wasn't there. And I said to her, like, this is the deal, this is what's been going on with my bleeding, this is the pain, it doesn't matter what contraception you give me, it is not regulating, it's not regulating it. Like, something needs to be done. And she says, you sure you don't have an STI? And I was like, I'm in a long-term relationship and I have regular checkups because I'm on contraception. No, I do not. So scan. And I eventually got the scan, and it was fine, everything was fine. But I remember I had to call to get the results. They wouldn't call me to give me the results. Which was really annoying, because I argued with the same doctor about getting a blood test to see if I would become anemic from blood loss. And she was like, just go to the desk. Like, I was like, oh, fine, I'll just book it myself. Which I did, and I was anemic. They gave me iron tablets. They gave me 4 weeks, and then I never heard from them again. And that was it. So yeah.
Well, probably I come from a lucky background in a sense, because my parents are both doctor, and my nan, she was a chemist when she was working. And I've got I don't know if I have a higher understanding of medical procedures than other people, but definitely I have been analyzed as a human being by any kind of doctor you can imagine. Like my parents have been like, "Oh yeah, we should do this and check that." It's like I don't know, the tour
You
to the
have the
doctor.
connections. You've got the connections. That's what it is.
I have, which in a sense, I have been in contact to so many different doctors that I
Yeah.
have got a decent understanding of maybe not what they know because I don't have, I can't say that, but of how they approached me, which is very different from Italy and the UK, is
Yeah.
a massive difference. So, first of all, what I've experienced is that here in the UK, there is no prevention.
No.
They there is no prevention. They
No.
stall you up to when you've got something, and then oh God, we have to treat you. In Italy, it's all about prevention.
Yeah.
All of it is about
And
prevention.
that is, in my opinion, how health should work. It should always be prevention.
But I didn't know that. So every time I've been going to doctors here, I was
Mm,
aiming for the prevention. And I
yeah.
was bombarding them with questions because I knew exactly every time I go to the doctor before I call my mom and say, look, I'm going to the doctor and she gives me a list of all the things to ask them, Like, oh, ask this. So I
Yeah.
go there with this thing saying, "Well,
Scrub.
you have to
Okay.
appreciate my mom is a doctor. You must have, if you have kids, you must know what I mean by that. So give me all the information you have." And then because I put myself into this scenario there and I'm very upfront, I don't
Mm,
leave until I know everything. So I've been sort of questioning these doctors all the time
yeah.
because I know what I need to tell my mother to being able to understand if everything is right,
Yeah.
which by default is teaching me so much about my body and what I should
Yeah.
know. But the only thing that I believe I've gained going to the private is to have a little bit of
Sorry,
a
my cat is
quicker.
here.
Yeah,
So if she meows, I apologise.
yeah, no trouble. No. So the only thing I've gained by going into private healthcare is to
Mm,
have the results and things a little bit quicker.
yeah.
But it's not that I know more than you know
Yeah.
because of private healthcare. Is it doesn't work like that. It seems it doesn't work like that.
No.
And the real problem that I've, again, because I've been talking to so many people about this topic, is that there is a huge is incompatible the conversation between the doctor and the patient.
Yes.
It seems that there is no way. I would love a little handbook about you, how to call
Yeah.
people, what are the questions that you need to ask, how can you ask
Yeah.
questions
And
that
it's
you need.
very much that thing of you have to know the questions to ask, otherwise you
Exactly.
won't get answers. They won't
Absolutely.
just give them to you. You have to ask.
You have to ask. And there is also another issue that I found that GP appointments, they've got a time limit. You can stay there
Yeah.
15 minutes and then they have to kick you out. Same thing at the phone. And the phone is actually 10 minutes. And
Yeah.
they were I was to book this blood test for to see if there was cancer or endometriosis elsewhere in my body, and I had to convince them that I needed that, not only because I had the okay from the private doctor, the gynecologist, but
Mm,
also because in my family I had a case of an aunt who died because of cancer in the ovaries. So
yeah.
it's kind of in the line of possibilities. And when I told them that, they said, "Oh, it's not in our record." Put it there then. These questions,
Yeah.
no one asks you when you go to register to the doctor, give me all the history of your family, of everything that happened to them and to you,
Yeah.
so that we can know how to
Yeah,
better.
no, you're quite correct actually. When I was younger, and I first started taking my, I was first put on the combination pill when I was
Yeah.
13 because of how heavy my periods were. Um, and I took the combination pill up until I was about 15. So in the UK, we have the sexual health clinic called Brooke. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if you've heard of it. So
No.
it's a free sexual health clinic from 20 for 25 and unders. And they do like counselling and stuff as well. and like you have those which are like separately ran, and then also you have your GP that you can get contraception from. So I originally was getting my contraception from my doctor, same doctor that like my mum, you know, went to. You know, like he was prescribing her pill, prescribing me my pill, and I had like just got my boyfriend. I'd started to become sexually active with him, and I went to Brooke because I obviously wanted to look at other forms of protection, not just a pill.
Yeah.
What else can I do? And obviously they were asking me questions about my contraception that I was on, and I told them, and they said, hold on a minute, you said when you registered that your mum had a blood clot, and I was like, yes, that's correct. She had one in her lung when she was 20. And I was like, and your GP's put you on the combination pill. She was like, she sat there, she explained to me, she said to me, she was like, there's three levels to risk factor with blood clots and pills. The pill that they've put you on puts you in the highest level of getting a blood clot.
Goodness me.
Menstruate and it blood clotting elsewhere in your body. So stop taking it. I'm going to prescribe you a different pill. And then eventually, like, I kept forgetting to take it because I was a kid and I got the injection, and then it just went tits up, you know. But I was actually sat there like, oh my god, she's a volunteering nurse at this sexual health clinic. She doesn't get paid to be there. Well, she might do now. I don't know if it's changed, but that when I went, a lot of the time these were sort of people with sexual health like knowledge and practice,
Yes.
lending it to the youth, you know. And she was more informative than my own GP, and I was just sat there like, that was when it hit me as a very young girl. I was like, okay, like I actually have to be very clued up on my body, otherwise something could seriously go wrong. And I think after that I became so educated. I was reading everything I could on like periods, my vagina, like, you know, sexual health, STIs, all of that. All of a sudden I was like a little sexual health guru.
Wow, you know. Yeah, I think, you know, this troubles me so much that before a certain time of my life, I didn't have a clue of my hormones and
Yeah.
the rhythm, the kind of, because I suffer from migraine, I am susceptible to blood clot. So we were discussing with the doctor to eventually put me on the pill, hormonal treatment. And I said, the first thing I said is, no, I am not taking anything. Before, first of all, we proved that I do really have a hormonal imbalance, which, by the way, you didn't even check my app, for example, that tells you all of my rhythm in 3 years' time, like 3 years, up to 3 years, you know. I was so very, it kind of angers me that in a sense we have to trust what the doctor tells us, and then you can go to 5 different practitioners exactly with the same kind of practice, and they will tell you different things. So I don't know. Of course, I don't have the knowledge to say, oh, stop the pill, take this, take that. I would never say anything like that. But for me, I'd rather know everything I need to know and spend some more time into understanding before getting shit into my body, like hormones.
Yeah,
Hell,
I
they
was very
change the
young.
world.
And that's the thing, like I was so young and I just wasn't so educated on it, you
Darling,
know.
this is where it feels like, I don't know if it's correct, but as if they were catching us into this moment of ignorance to give us,
For
what
sure.
are they, like these white rabbits where we can get injected with hormones and treatments that they
I
don't
think
make sense.
it's because it's one of those things like the female reproductive system in itself is probably one of the most understudied organs of the human body. Like,
That's true. I've read that.
like there isn't a lot of knowledge on it. And if there is, a lot of the stuff that's predated as a solution is from a long time ago.
Yeah, I was listening to very, very now funny podcasts and you know, vodcasts and such about the womb and all of that. And you know, the fear, you know, that the period was called the curse.
Yes.
And that one, if I'm correct, it originates from Christianity
Hmm.
and Adam and Eve. You know, Eve was blessed. She was given the curse of pain during childbirth and
Yep.
menstruation, right? And ever since that time, every religion, it seems that they've got some linkages to the uncleanness of the body. The
Yes.
fact that
Yes.
women experiencing menstruation, or actually, let's say, people having menstruations, they are impure. They can, in some religions like Hindu, they cannot go to pray into the temple. They cannot physically be touched. They have to be closed
Yeah.
rooms. Uh,
Yes, that is what I've been told. My friend, who, he was explaining to me he's Somalian, and he said to me that I don't know if it was his tribe, but he said like in some of the tribes and just in some of the culture, it used to be seen that if a woman was menstruating, she would have to be locked away.
yeah.
She was like, she couldn't sort of integrate herself in
Great.
with the family and live like she usually would. You know, it was a bad thing. So he said sometimes I think they even separate them and put them in like their own house,
Yeah, there
like
was.
in the garden.
I've read it as well that some tribe-based cultures, they were isolating the people experiencing menstruations in certain houses or establishments. But it
Yeah,
depends. I don't have a research that backs this up, but I've been told
yeah.
that some tribes, they were seeing this in a welcoming way because they weren't locked away.
Mm,
They were kind of, it was the costume of go all the women into these houses to take care of themselves among themselves because they knew what
yeah,
they needed. They could be comfortable in bleeding together, let's say.
yeah. That
And
doesn't
other
sound too bad.
in that context it's not bad, but then there are extremes on the same line of these people locked up in rooms where they were actually dying because they were
Oh
left
no.
there. I don't know exactly where, but I've been told this as well. But then I've been doing some research about menstruations in other cultures, and there was. Uh, have you ever heard of the Kumari?
I have not, no. Educate me.
So it's in Nepal. There
Yeah.
are 12, I think 12 or 13 Kumaris, which are children goddesses. Uh,
Okay.
so
Children goddesses. So
children
they're
goddesses, female children goddesses, and so what happened? There are three official ones, one of which is subsidized by the Nepalese government, and the others, they've got sort of a lower status, so they don't receive fundings, and all the rest, they don't even get recognized officially. But there are specific families which are entitled to submit these children in front of a judging panel made of religious people. And when the former goddess has her first period,
mm.
she doesn't have the status of goddess anymore because of the bleeding.
Oh,
Therefore, another need to take place in her, and they need to take her
so
place.
it's constantly just a child.
Is a child age usually the youngest one was age 2, I think, till 13 of 16, something like that.
Yeah.
And then they imagine that since they are born, because they're part of the same family, if they are born as with a female body, they get taught that one day they could become this goddess. So age 0 till 3 till 4 till
And
5.
then they get their period.
Then let's say that they become selected as the Kumari goddess. They have to move away from their home. This is just the one subsidized by the government. She needs to leave the home with the family, and they get placed in the Kumari's building. And from that moment up to the first day of menstruation, they cannot touch the floor. They cannot talk to anybody outside of the family, being my mom, my dad, my brothers, and siblings. They cannot I think they can touch anybody, they cannot go to school, they cannot do anything that is connected to everyday life. Therefore, they are to be, I think that they have to open up the doors of this praying house to people twice a day, and people need to give offers at least twice a day. And these children is selected by physical and characteristical skills and physical ways of being and of looking. So say the eyes need to be of a certain shape, the mouth need to be of a certain shape, the body has to be of a certain height, the person needs to be very calm and tranquil. You need to be sitting for hour after hour without being, itchy or moving.
That's very hard for a 2-3-year-old to do.
And all of that. I've been watching so many documentaries about this. And then what happened? They menstruate. You're 15. Boom, you are there. You menstruate. What happened? From that moment, you're no more a goddess. People can talk to you. You have to go to school. You have to learn how to live in society. Well, before you were a god.
That's quite a late age to go into it as well.
Very, very hard shift in your mind.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of documentaries about these people that were goddesses, that were Kumaris before. And the question was, how did you become a member of society?
Yeah.
How has that status of God impacted your life? There was the belief that if you married a Kumari, you would die. So many things. But
Oh wow.
some of them, no one has said, no one of these ex-Kumari has said that that was a bad thing. So there is a campaign led by local people to educate Kumaris during they are goddesses, because the transition will have to happen. So they do teach them. They cannot receive a yes or no by the Kumari, but they can teach them. But then this is like the top, the government sponsored Kumari, but then there are the ones that lives in the villages and in the outskirts of this religious society, which live in their homes and they go to school. They only have to wear specific clothes and having a very particular drawing a symbol in their forehead. But then they need to receive two praise a day by the local community, but then they're in the community already because they can play with other kids, apart from when they have to do the god work.
Yeah.
So it's surprising how much there is around menstruation. And the very interesting thing for me was that you lose your god status when you start bleeding, but one person that has never bled, and she is still alive, the only Kumari that is still, she feels still a Kumari because she has never bled throughout her life. She's been having children because she married after she lost the official status, I mean years after, but she's now 60, 65, and she lives in her home and people still believe in her, they worship her, but she decided never to become not a Kumari because she never bled. And some person went to her and they said, "You're gonna be the longest Kumari that ever was," and that was kind of true. I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
this is all
Was
because
there a reason as to why she never bled?
they didn't say, but it could be an hormonal imbalance, as simple as that.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel after doing so much research about the body and around the menstruation and the cycle and our hormones and all of that. I cannot help to think that if the body doesn't bleed or if the cycle is irregular,
Yeah.
something apart from injecting stuff that we can do to understand why. Maybe it's okay that there is nothing that happens. Of course, I'm not a doctor, so I cannot say that, but I had to take the decision, take the hormonal cure that could fuck me up for good or not at all. And I live in this risk that it could be that I've got endometriosis, but I don't know, because the only way I've been told that it could be seen is through the laparoscopy. Do you know what it is?
Yeah.
Which is super invasive, and I haven't been pushed to do that.
Yeah.
I
Good.
don't know. Right now in a pandemic, I ain't gonna do that for
No.
now. But in general, if I need to understand if that's actually the only way that you can see if there is endometriosis in your body.
Yeah.
And I was told that this blood test I did, which is called CA125, it's the way to through the blood test to see.
Mm.
It's called a blood dosage of CA125, and they do this test to see if there are cancerogenous cells or endometriosis cells in the body anywhere. It doesn't map you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, one there in the belly, and that came like negative. Nothing bad was there. So there is so much. It's impossible to know for sure what's the correct thing to do and if there is one final thing to do. So it's
Yeah.
very, I feel I had to accept this situation I'm living in right now. And I decided to take this risk of not to embark myself into hormonal treatments simply because I've got the data of 3 years and nothing bad has happened apart from the one day. So for me, the explosion of a follicle seems the perfect, the correct thing, and it cannot be proven unless you were at the doctor in that fucking moment.
Yeah.
No,
So can they? I'm guessing they can't even scan your ovary. I guess they can't even see the follicles in your ovaries, can they?
I don't know. I think that's impossible because it has been expelled during the cycle. So
Mm.
maybe the only thing could have been, I don't know if it's correct, to collect the blood of that menstruation and bring it to the doctor. One thing, one thing that I've started thinking, honestly, it was to
Yeah.
start taking photos of my bleeding. If I see,
Yeah. I highly suggest it. I wish I took photos of the clots that I was getting and showed the doctor rather than just sat describing, well, I got this clot and it was a bit stringy, and she's like, that's normal. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like I had to push it out. It wasn't normal. Like,
exactly. So I think I am a lot for documentation, you know,
mm,
and I've been starting noting everything down, but then I thought that isn't enough.
no.
What if I had the proof of my changing in the body and all of these problems that I've been experiencing, and that color was weird. Yeah, but that's true. I recognize a lot the brown bleeding. No one
Mm.
tells me that, and I now know.
Yeah, boy.
Or you know the spottings, they call it spottings when you bleed
Yeah.
from time to time. I mean, I don't know if it happens to many or I don't know. I do
No, I
sometimes.
see. This is the thing. I don't actually understand what the definition of spotting is, because, like, I type it in, say, I type it into Google. I don't actually get a picture come up of spotting. I
Oh,
get a diagram of like a cartoon pad with spots on it, and
right.
I'm like, yeah, but is that spotting? Like, are you telling me that I'm meant to just have little dots all over my menstrual pad? Is that what spotting is? I don't know, because they don't explain it to you.
Oh,
Um,
I need to find this. Okay, I'm gonna spottings.
but I'm guessing that spotting is basically when it's such light bleeding that you barely get anything on your pad, because
This
that is what I tend to experience with a lot of the periods that I have due to my IUD, is that it's like a spot. Like I might get like a little bit of a brownie. I look, I'm like, is that blood or discharge? And I'm like, oh, it's probably both, and probably during period, you know. And I'm guessing that's what spotting is.
my
Um,
I'm gonna find the so this app that I use is very informative. They send you every couple of weeks or such
mm,
blog blogs about what is spotting, what is this, what is that, what's the ovulation, what's the whatever. And I think I've received one ages ago. And
mm,
spotting is when you bleed not a lot, like literally like couple of things or a little patch in between your cycle in a moment where you're not expecting the period is like
Yeah,
anywhere between uh, from say a week after your actual period to way before the period actual start, like 5 days
right.
before you're first bleeding again in the new cycle. So it's this, it sometimes happened to me. They are very light brownie and they are super kind of transparent and watery. And
Yeah.
I recognize this blood, but as you said, has been
Right. Okay. Now that you say that, that's making a little bit more sense.
whenever I could trace them down to see exactly when in my cycle I've been having them, but I
Mm.
think it's about maybe day 15, day 14. So I don't know if you're aware of
Is
the
in the 14th day you tend to ovulate, if I'm correct?
between, so ovulation, yeah, usually occur between day 12 and 15, I think.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's a nice little,
Natural cycles. Oh, I know what one you're on
yeah.
about.
So ovulation is in the middle, so yeah, day 14 more or less. So yeah, that's the spotting, but I can add the link to the article on the chat later.
Yeah, go for it.
I think if there was a little booklet or a massive one, I don't know, a link to a website where you can understand your body, understand the kind of questions you can ask, understand how to present the level of pain, knowing if we knew as a children that we have to start doing documentation of our bleeding and taking photos of your panties that are dirty and whatever, because if something is wrong, there is a physical proof. Goodness, we would be healthier, I think.
I completely agree.
Mm,
Um, Another thing you say about the pain, it's really hard to present pain to a
yeah,
doctor, um, especially when it comes to menstruating, because I feel like they don't really tend to take you seriously. And I had a friend recently who had to have an abortion, but it was through pill form, and it was a breeze. She was fine. She barely had any pain, and I remember after sort of process was done, we sat there and we both, and I was just like, do you know what? Like, I think I've seen you in more pain during your period than I've seen you in this abortion. And
yeah,
she was very much like, yes,
yeah,
you're very, very right. Like I have been in more pain through periods. Did the whole thing on paracetamol pretty much.
yeah. Oh goodness.
Like, and that's what I mean. Like for me, that was like actually a very like recognizable moment for me to be like, okay, like period pains are actually no joke. They are no joke.
Yeah,
The fact that they can be so debilitating in the way that I've seen them like debilitate my friends, myself, and then
yeah,
to be sitting here and going through that process of ridding your womb of obviously a fetal cell, like the fetal cells, because she was very early, but the fetal cells and it being so painless and the sac and everything coming out being so painless, it's
wow.
just crazy. Like it
Yeah,
just goes to show like the pain isn't a joke, and I really wish people like I wish people that didn't have periods understood this. And the medical professions who don't suffer with the pain understood this.
yeah. I think this needs to come. I don't know how. I am dearly hoping that maybe these conversations could imprint something. So one
Yeah.
desire of this practice linked to menstruality is to bring some kind of some social change. There can be the little one being we talk about this finally
Mm.
openly with without shame. We can talk about the color of our blood easily without feeling oh
Yeah.
that's disgusting. Um, we can talk about the level of pain and trying to find a vocabulary, maybe making a vocabulary of pain,
Yeah, right.
all different
The vocabulary is very formal.
yeah, like, you see, like children when they go to the doctor and they need to describe pain, they are given a series of faces
Yes.
and they say that's face, that's mine, and like that one there is I am about to vomit sort of thing. I would
Yeah.
love if there was a scale of pain like that, in a way
Yes.
that makes sense, but it's like describing a smell. How can you describe a smell unless you know the thing? Like,
Yeah, that's very true.
only if I know peach, I can understand the smell that you are describing to me.
Yeah.
So the I think this is the first thing to address.
Yeah.
So the first thing to address, and maybe to come up with some idea, and
Mm.
then even how to discuss from doctor to patient and vice versa, the kind of informations that we need to know as patients going to the doctor, the type of questions that we need to ask them, and where am I to search about my issue and my
Mhm.
situation. It's not an issue, because every time I go to the doctor and I say, "Oh, I've been reading on internet," they go, "Ah, you should never read on internet." Well, give me a site then. Give me a website where I can inform myself, and I
Yeah.
will know.
And
Because I go
then
to the NHS, I go to the NHS website to understand the problem, understand an illness or whatever.
work out the symptoms and the treatments that they offer for the symptoms. Yeah.
Yeah, there is a very interesting paper
Mm.
that I am trying to source, produced by some person. What's her name? In Scotland, and she discussed
Oh,
about,
okay.
yeah. So there is there are people addressing these issues, this
Mm.
problematic of understanding each other in a conversation between doctor and patient. And I think a very good achievement it could be to have a doctor invited into this room right here, right?
Yeah, that
This
would be amazing. It'd be great to
is
sort of
something I'm working
hear
on.
the other side, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly, because I don't think that they are the bad guys. Maybe,
No, I don't. I just think that's the way that sociology, like the way that society has progressed,
yeah,
that it's like they got the medical field was just given a very basic understanding when we had like the pill revolution, the contraceptive revolution from the 50s, and the sexual revolution in the 60s, and then the 70s and the 80s. There was like a basic understanding that worked for over 40 to 50 to 60 years, but it's not working anymore.
I think so. There should be an upgrade of the methodology of patient
Yeah.
patient doctor relationship, just to
Yes.
satisfy the need of knowledge that we have as a society.
Yeah, it's so important for us as people, I think, that now, especially because everything's so accessible for us to understand ourselves. Before, people would just they just accepted what other people
Yeah,
said,
there was this
but now
famous,
it's like, actually, no, I know better for myself. And it comes with, I think, that awakening of acceptance of other people and everything that they offer, and who they are. We're very much trying to achieve the save just for our own selves.
yeah,
So I agree there needs to be some sort of change. Just quickly, completely off topic,
yeah,
but do you know what? I turned 23 a few weeks ago, and I've only just found out what the womb actually looks like inside my body. I've only just found out, because I don't know why. With all the educating that I did, I learned about different types of wombs, and that, like, you can have like your heart-shaped wombs, so like
yeah.
you've basically got sort of like two. You can have one sort of lean one side, lean a little bit further back. In my mind, a womb was just like this one cage thing that was straight up like this. No, it leans back. No idea.
It's like,
Didn't know.
yeah, and then
Yeah, it goes like that. Yeah, I
I mean,
didn't know.
I've learned about this in August this year, and
You learn about it, see?
only
What's that
many girls.
about?
It's,
We're like full-blown adults, and we just learn the shape of our actual womb, because the diagrams that they show you
it's
in
vertical.
school
It's
are
just
like vertical.
flat.
Yeah, what is that?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah. The shape of a womb is this sort of T thing, and that's
Yeah,
it. We don't
it's like
know.
a stingray. It literally is like a little stingray.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Yeah,
I always thought that it was flat like that, but
so
then
did I.
I've started reading a book
Mm,
called Period Power. I can link it
mm,
there. It's very
for
interesting.
sure.
It gives a lot of. I'm putting this down. Um, I'd like to invite the writer of this book because she knows so much. So for another time, she has informed me a lot. She
Mm,
talks about the shape of the womb, all the parts of the womb, and what is the vagina that everyone think is one thing and is not,
Yeah.
right? um all the hormones and their rhythms or the functions. It talks about the the naturality of cycles, and she compares them with the seasons. I still didn't arrive at that chapter, but I've been told
That
that.
sounds quite interesting because it'd be interesting to see how our cycles would work with spring, summer. You know, they're probably the most reproductive
I,
times of the
I
year
know
usually.
that the winter, I need, don't quote me on that, but the winter should be the first day. So when you bleed is the winter. And then it starts.
Okay.
The summer should be, so we've got the winter is bleeding, the spring is approaching ovulation, the ovulation is the summer, and then approaching to the end of the cycle, therefore bleeding again, is the autumn. That should
Yeah.
be it. Yeah. Anyway, so there is so much knowledge that I still have to gain.
Hmm.
But I think ever since I started this research, topic-based research, goodness, I feel that I understand myself better, the project.
Yes.
And it's incredible. There are so many people that agrees with everything that we're doing in Wombenhood, you know? And I think, yeah, the education is discussion, and the key is
Mhm.
education through discussion and sharing, and you know.
I think it's just to, yeah, sharing, talking, but just getting rid of that veil of sort of
Hmm.
shame, I think, you
I
know.
did a conversation with an Italian friend of mine,
Mm.
and she studied marketing, and she
Okay.
did
Mm.
her dissertation about menstruation and the advertising campaigns around menstrual products. So
Yes.
I am editing that, and I am translating it to Italian, rather putting the subtitles, because we discussed in Italian and it's 3 hours long or something. So it will take some. But her research is so interesting, and we
Yeah, I
watch
bet.
videos of products, organization, what's it called, like organizations that makes tampons and pads, like shops or chains.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, I know what you're on about. Menstrual products.
Menstrual products, yeah, and their advertising campaigns, and the difference in languages from country to country, the colors of blood or not blood, the blue.
I would love to see that. I bet that is interesting because it's only just recently in
They
the
get red.
UK. Yeah, it's only just recently in the UK we've stopped using blue and we started using red. Well, body form have. I don't know if Tampax have. I
I
don't think they have,
we
but I
did
know body form
research.
have.
We did her research was about on Nivea and Linux, which are the most known in Italy.
Yeah.
She based her research around Italy, and yeah, the concept around menstruation in the Italian nation. So that was such an interesting
Yeah,
conversation.
I can imagine it was. I think as you know, I sit here and I say my experiences, but I come from a very westernized culture, a very capitalized culture, you know, where I'm of quite a privilege. So
Yeah,
my experiences probably sound probably quite breezy. Well, not my own personal experiences because they were horrible,
yeah,
but like my actual experience of menstruation growing up, having access to education, everything probably, yeah, has been a
yeah,
lot better than other people's experiences in other countries. I'd love to hear them though, because
yeah,
I'd love to see like what someone who maybe grew up in Dubai or Saudi Arabia, how their experiences of menstruality was sort of handled,
yeah,
um and especially see the difference in generations. Like a young woman now in Dubai, her menstrual experiences would be vastly different to that of her grandmas who grew up in Dubai. That sort of stuff, ooh, gets me going.
see, they're
I
fun
love it.
forever. And I've been
um
thinking about this with my nan, and
oh right.
already, yeah, because I thought, well, let's just start talking about this, and it's, well, they didn't know anything back then, and
Yeah, I'm not
also my mom,
surprised.
she was a chemist, so she had an education quite strongly centered around biology. There wasn't a sex education, and they just knew, yeah, it happens. She was a very lucky one because she never had pain. She had three
Wow.
children, and yeah, right. But then she they had this fashion of removing the womb.
Removing.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on.
No, you don't need it anymore. Just take it out.
Oh,
Yeah, so she doesn't have a womb anymore because she wasn't ill, but she started having, I think, particular pains or something, and they said, yeah, do you want kids anymore? No, let's take it out then.
wow.
Very drastic in a sense, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Anyways,
crazy. Sorry, that was that's
yeah,
a bit derailing. Wow.
I think that your experience has it was very God, it was a lot for me. It was very, oh my God, I really felt you. And I think that there are so many people experiencing quite heavy stuff. And
Mm,
although we live them forever and is our life and is our cycle, we accept them or we live with them as
mm,
because they are normal to us,
yes.
right?
I think, but that's the one thing that I will say. I think what is so fortunate about being um a woman is that we're very durable beings and we're very quick to evolve and
Mm.
um you know accept our reality and do what we need to do to function within it. We go through huge transformations. We go from being a child to dealing with regular pain and discomfort, and that is a very hard way to manifest your life. And then we go through another amazing transformation where we create this whole human inside us, and
Yeah.
then we give birth to it. And then we go through another transformation where we're not just pregnant anymore, we're a mum. So I think that's one thing that women are good at. We're good at evolving, and it is an acceptance, but I mean, not all of it, should I say, does need to be accepted. So
I
I
think
think with having these conversations, it will help people figure out what is their reality and what shouldn't be, and what they can change.
I think so. But I think, if we are not told that, yeah, pain is normal, but up to a certain point, and that if we know that something is wrong, we should seek for help and
Yeah,
know more about this problem even before maybe we engage with, decide what kind of cure to take on board. I
yeah,
think it's vital to be informed, so to being able to take the right decisions together with the doctor. It shouldn't be, oh, you take that, why? Because I'm saying that. It
yes,
shouldn't be the sort of
yeah.
relationship.
They did, yeah. Do you know, there was one thing they gave me to help with the bleeding, and it was is it tuxerumic 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 acid. And they were these big chunky tablets, and it's like you have to take them like at the beginning of your period of the bleeding, or you have to take them like a few days before your period is about to start. And I was there like, yeah, but this is my issue. I don't know when it starts, I don't know when it ends, it just lasts for 3 weeks. And you're only allowed to take them for 5 days. I didn't end up taking them, but it's meant to help with like lightening the bleeding or something.
Yeah.
But then it can give you clots, it thins your blood. And I was like,
But
wait, what?
yeah,
But my mom, like, what? So yeah,
it's a very confusing and
it
overwhelming
is.
problem because I've I've been going through this medical situation for 3 months and
Mm,
maybe four, and I have been feeling so down because I felt ignorant and impotent because I didn't know what was the right choice to make. I didn't know if my knowledge was sufficient and if my physical bodily feelings were the right answer, or if I had to blindly accept whatever my fate was because of the doctor in front of me.
yes,
And
yeah,
no mistrust to doctors, but if they don't give informations back, and if I need to be able to trust someone before accepting what they are saying to me and following a path that involves dramatic change like hormonal treatment.
yeah,
I wish there could be a way to communicate efficiently and to understand the body in a way that we are able to say, okay, I think this is what I have because, and back up with all the information that you can gather. Like my pains,
yeah,
say sharp. Maybe sharp is a new word that describes exactly the endometriosis.
Yeah.
No, no, just give me a way. But I've realized that talking to other people who have experienced certain things, they can describe them in a way that resonates with me.
Yeah. Well, when you said about it being like this, it's completely correct. When I was dealing with the pain, when I was dealing with the pain after I had my call instead, it was like someone turning the dial up, like volume dial, and it gradually getting worse and then it coming back down and then it getting worse and then it coming back down. That was what the pain was like. And it was like that for like every 5 minutes or so.
Very regular. And
Yeah.
that was
Very regular, very weird. I remember trying to sleep and I was going, right, it's gone. Oh, I'm awake, I'm awake, I'm ready.
what happened is that my period always, always ever,
Mm.
always all the time, it happened around about 4 in the morning. Happened.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Funny that.
So I know
Weird.
because of my regularity that I know
Yeah,
the period. So I know that for next day I try to freeing up the schedule for the next 2 days so that
yeah.
I can die if I need to.
And just rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then
Give
the
yourself a
first,
recovery period.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? I was thinking for now I am studying, so
Mm.
I can take the day off as I please, kind of.
Yeah,
If they're working, how am I to do?
yeah.
I
No,
don't.
you just have to suck it up.
This is what we're told, right? Oh, you have
Yeah.
to take painkillers, stuff yourself with painkillers. But I am trying not to
Hmm.
take so many because I I am slowly approaching the fact that they don't have any effect anymore because I
Hmm.
take too much. So
Yes, I ended up
am I
approaching the
gonna
same
go
with,
into something else like drugs,
yeah,
guy? I don't know.
literally. I remember after I had to call into work after the call in section and say to them, I'm like, I ain't coming in, I've been in urgent care, like I'm in agony and I haven't slept, I've been up for over 24 hours in pain. And they're like, oh, okay. Luckily, I was very fortunate that my manager suffered with the same bleeding issues as what I had, and she ended up getting her hysterectomy that she had to fight for because the doctors refused to give it to her. Um, she's had children. She said she didn't want any more children. She said, literally, I want it gone. She was like, it's caused me so much pain all my life. I'm heading into menopause anyway. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
So she had to fight for it, but she's had similar experiences to what I had. So I was very fortunate. She was like, it's fine, I get it. So she let me have the day off. And then I went back into work and I was constantly popping codeine and naproxen. And it got to the point where it just made me drowsy and I could still feel the pain. And I remember one particular time I thought I was dying. I was in one of the fixtures, like one of the shelves at work. I was crouched down and I'm like this and I'm breathing and I'm rocking, trying to get the blood flow back into my uterus.
Yeah. Oh my God.
And one of the young boys, he must have only been about like 18, 17, he popped his head round and he looked at like one of the other girls and he goes, is she all right? Does she need an ambulance? And I looked at him, I was like, no,
Oh,
I'm okay. But I had to do that at work. I had to do that. I had to stop what I was doing because my knees literally went from underneath me.
yeah.
And I think I kind of scared off this young guy, like probably scarred him for life. Like, oh my God. It was funny now that I look back, but at the time,
It wasn't
I
really.
couldn't do a lot. I would have to literally, I'd have to say to like my colleagues, like, I'm really sorry, but I can't go up that ladder because I don't know if I'm going to be able to get back down. Can you please get me that?
Yeah.
Like,
But you see, this is what I don't get. We have a majority of people that works in places generally. The majority of people working are female-bodied person or people that experience menstruation. Just to be
yeah,
general people. Um, so why isn't there a working policy that can help us in moments of need like that?
I agree. But could you imagine what would they be left with?
But not
There
every.
wouldn't be a lot of people left working, I don't think.
I think that this pandemic has proven the efficacy of working remotely. So, for example, I understand that there are jobs like working in grocery stores. You have to be there, otherwise
Yeah.
there is no way you're gonna earn your wage. If you don't go, that's it. But
Yeah.
in um, Argentina, there is a
Mm.
friend of mine who lives there. She's in her 70s. And she told me, oh, I remember that when I was young, there was a policy, a work policy that you could have one day off a month because of your period. And I was like, that's interesting. So I'm going
Yeah.
to research that, see if I can find something, because if there was, it might be again. And because we are living and working remotely in this pandemic, this has proven that we can make changes to the work policy if it's necessary and if needed.
Yeah.
One
If
day
people are
off.
again, yeah, because I can see, some male being somewhere not being too happy. You want equality, you have to work, rather than actually realizing that
Yeah,
it's
but
it's it's more about that idea of we are two different beings, we have different bodies. That's not what we're talking about. That's not what feminism
yeah.
is, and that's not what a lot of people argue for in the workplace. um but then, like you said, well, if that's the case, well, you can do it, we can work from home remotely,
Mhm, mhm.
you know I can attend that meeting that I've got at 3 o'clock, but I can rest for the morning if I need to.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
like, there's I completely understand where you come from, and I agree that is a very possible thing. But now that we have, very quickly evolved our way of communicating and working
And
online.
I think that probably the reason why I chose this topic now, it's because ever since lockdown, I've been, I never had to take painkillers because I didn't have to go to uni or I didn't have to go out to whatever meeting. And I was able to let the body be
Mm.
its own and doing its own thing. And that's why I realized that there was something wrong in maybe the work policy linked to menstruations. So yeah, I think it could be very. I don't know if this could really happen, but for example, there is bill that passed in Scotland in
Mm.
like this year, 2020, to allow every person that needs menstrual periods, menstrual products, to have them for free.
Yes, I've heard about that. They've just abolished tax in the UK on them, the luxury tax.
Did they? I didn't receive any.
Yeah, so that was recent. That was actually, I think it might have been either the end of 2020 actually, or it might be in the beginning of this
No.
year. I think it was 2020. Let
Where
me have a little search. I'm pretty sure they did. So, menstrual product tax. Yeah. So the 2nd of Jan, tampon tax abolished on menstrual products in the UK.
can you share the link on the chat and I put it
Yes, for sure.
in? Yeah, you see, so where there is will, there is power. So I think
Yes.
in general, it's not asking for something absurd. I'm not
Yeah.
there need to be exceptions. There need
Mm,
some people won't experience periods as we do. So
yeah.
it won't be something that everyone would take, probably. You
Mm.
like, and I don't think you need to have even a doctor certificate because you are bleeding. You're bleeding.
No.
You can, yeah, as a proof, you need to give them something with your menstrual blood, and they can do the test. All right, I can show you.
Yeah, sure. 1 second. I've just got to squeeze. I've got to give a little push.
Exactly. Just like give me from 5 minutes, and I come back with something.
Yeah.
To me, it would be so good to know that getting into a job, you can have this type of support. And, it could even be to have one person in the organization
Mm.
that got menstrual knowledge, so that you can go to this person saying, look, I'm going to give you my the data of my menstruation, so I can tell you roughly when I'm going to have my period. Can we arrange the schedule, the rota around that, for example? Why not?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a possibility?
Yeah, for sure. And the thing is, I think even having a policy in like that would actually encourage a lot of young women to actually start
Mm.
regulating their body, in the sense of like actually using these tracker apps, working out, okay,
Mhm.
I had a period 4 weeks ago. I had cramps 2 days before, and then I ended up bleeding 3 days later.
Yeah.
You know, because a lot of people, a lot of young women now, I tend to find, because they are just on contraception, they don't feel the need to, because it's like, just it happens, it happens. Yeah, because like what happens isn't necessarily like, it's not a big deal. It's not a lot of blood because they are on a form of contraception.
But I now that I've been into this habit for so many years of logging my data and understanding which day of my cycle I am, so I center my life around it. It's not the other way
Yeah,
around. Not an impediment to life. It's just I know that it will happen, so let's arrange my life around something that is certain, like
yeah,
a body clock.
yeah, and that is something that I think, just the way that you actually practice and like, manifest your self like that is not a very common thing. A lot of women, I think, are taught and brought up with that idea that you're menstruating is something that you deal with in the back,
The back.
and then the world carries on and you've just got to deal with it.
You
You've
have
got
to fake that everything is right. You have to fake that you don't have it. You have the
yeah.
Speaking to my friend Bianca about her dissertation on menstrual products, we
Mm.
discussed exactly that. The fact that people are to fake or to mask the fact that they've got a period, that the tampons and the pads have to be invisible to the
Mhm.
outside. You can't wear, say, tight trousers because you will see the outline of the pad.
Oh God, yeah, God forbid.
Someone notice I'm on my period, so what?
Yeah, I remember being a kid. Yeah, I remember being a kid, being in my science class watching an experiment. I was sat on the table and I got my period. And this is when my body's still regulating, so I'm not really, I wasn't expecting it. And yeah, I bled a lot. And I'm like, God damn, what do I do? I'm sat
Now,
on the experiment and I'm like, no. I bled through my knickers, through my trousers, it was on the table. And I got this rush of heat, exhausting. Like I felt so hot and embarrassed. I
yeah,
felt so embarrassed. And I put my book over the top of it. And I remember I told only one guy, I was like, make sure nobody moves that book. Because I had to clean it up, like obviously.
yeah.
But I'm in science, where we talk about biology and your body and stuff. And I was absolutely mortified over something I had no control over,
Yeah,
because I'm
exactly. There
so
is
worried about what people were going to say.
we have this culture. I don't think it's just us in the UK and in Europe. It's just a worldwide spread thing. I hope I'm wrong. So someone, if you watch this, because I think every the menstruating is centered around the shame, around the fact that it doesn't have to be publicly acknowledged. That it doesn't have to impact your life, and it surely cannot impact your work. God forbid if you ask a day off for that. Not that I've read any kind of policy in my contracts, you cannot ask days off because of your menstruation, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Still, in my entire life, I have never asked a day off because I was dying.
No.
Never. I said, oh God, well, I have to take two painkillers. Let's go through
Yeah.
it. The only thing I was doing is to inform not even my boss, but my colleagues that I had a period, so guys, please cover for me. Cover for me. I am not doing drugs. It's not like illegal that needs to be, put
Yeah.
up. So
I couldn't, like, honestly, just the way that I've been, what's the word, conditioned growing up, I couldn't imagine not going to work because of my period. You
precisely.
know, even though I can sit here and say I have had some harrowing experiences and debilitating ones, I still couldn't imagine. I was going to work doped out of my head on codeine and naproxen.
Yeah.
I had no idea what I was doing, but I had to go. I can call and be like, I'm really sorry, but I'm in agony today.
Yeah.
My boss was like, fine, yeah, come in then. I was working with ladders
Yeah.
and heavy lifting and everything.
Yeah, I was there. I've been there. You know what I had to do? I could, in some of the jobs, I've been doing many jobs. In some of those,
Mm.
I had to prove them that I was dying. So I had to go to work, do some hours, eventually fainting because it happened,
Yeah, no, my mum used to
or
suffer the same.
being, I don't know, dropping something and hurting myself. And they were asking, "Are you okay? I did call you this morning. I told you I was dying. I am now dying. Can I go home?" "Oh, yeah, now you can." Right.
Yeah, there is always that thing of having to prove that, because they don't believe,
Because
they don't necessarily.
so in a
Especially
sense,
when they don't suffer with themselves, that can be really frustrating because it doesn't matter what you do, they're not necessarily going to believe you if they don't actually experience or feel it themselves.
but I think that probably because no one ever said that they cannot come in because they've got the period and their bleeding has been so heavy that they've lost ounces of blood during the night. And it happened that you arrive at 4 in the morning and you've got the shift at 8 in the morning and you cannot function. No one is describing the reason why I cannot come to work because I'm sick. I think I wish to hope that if I next time I'm going to be working on any kind of job and when I'm gonna experience that, I will test this out. I will say calling them because when it's true that I can't because of whatever reason, and I'm going to explain the reason why. I don't think nothing can change if we that experience the pain don't share the fact that we have that kind of pain and it
Mm.
cannot happen that we have to work on that day. You know, I think in general a healthy person doesn't get sick more than 3 times a year. You got the flu, maybe a cold, and maybe, I don't know, food poisoning. These are the things that happened, like in Tom's life, for example. He had
Yeah,
food poisoning, but he never kind of got hungover before. So there are people exploiting the health in that sense, saying, "Oh, I'm hungover, I'm gonna go sick," but the majority of people don't tend to do that sort of thing. So, to me, having the possibility to arrange the rota around your cycle, saying I'm gonna have my period in those days and I know I'm gonna have migraine and all of that, can I have my 2 days off in those days if it is a work Monday to Friday? And usually Monday to Friday jobs, they are centered around office work. So you could even say, right, in my week where it's more likely that I'm gonna have the period, I'm gonna work from home. So when I've got the period, I'm gonna be home. So why not?
yeah.
Right?
It would make sense, but I think it's just one of those things that, yeah, you just have to really, you'd really have to fight for it
Oh
because,
wow, yeah. I think this the social change I'm talking about is so utopistical and hopeful. But when
yeah,
we start talking about it, well, let's see what
a
happens.
conversation of it's a start of something. It gets a wheel
I think
turning, doesn't
so.
it? You know?
But like Monica Lennon, which is the MSMP that passed the
Yeah.
bill on period products in Scotland,
Mm.
she was one person with one idea, and after 4 years, she managed that, and that's
That's
a
very
huge
true,
thing.
actually. That is very true.
I mean, I was spending hundreds of pounds a year in period products, and now I've got the reusable pads, and I'm happy.
Yeah.
I just wash them again, and it's fine. I paid £12 for the pack,
Yeah.
and
See,
then I
I love that. That's something that I think has been really, really great. That
yeah
has come out of like just generally the population trying to be more eco-friendly.
yeah me too.
The reusable things that's come out, like the cups.
The cup.
I really, really wish that my period was heavy enough so I could use a cup just because I want to know how to use it. They
Yeah.
seem amazing. I
I
know that they can be a bit tricky at
comfort for
first.
me. It's very personal because I think I bought the wrong cup size, so it's a little bit too big.
Oh,
But you feel it inside all the time. It's a
yeah.
plastic thing, squashy. But I like that idea because you don't dirt yourself. That's nice.
Yeah.
And it's super cool because you collect the blood and then you can see it in the
Yeah,
water.
it's so weird that, but it's like it's literally it's something that's a part of your body. Like, why would you not
Yeah.
want to see it? Like,
I don't think this
I've grown up with a mum who has sat there in an operation watching herself on the screen going, can I see it please? Like, I'm that sort of person because
yeah,
of
I'm kind of
her. You know.
I'm kind of gory. Oh well. I've just realized he's 5. He's 5
Oh
plus 5.
wow, yes it is.
Yeah. It was so nice.
Yes, I actually, it was really really quite cool.
Yeah.
I've never really sat there with someone who spoke about periods and wombs and being a woman for 2 hours.
Yeah, it's true. Well, for me, it's becoming part of normality, and I'm so
Yeah,
happy.
for you, I imagine it is.
It's so exciting all the time because there are, so many different experiences, and we all experience different things.
We
In what
do.
everyone think is the same stuff being period. Everyone
Mm.
think there is this conception that period is just one thing. It's just the bleeding day. It's not that. It's everything around that.
It is everything around it.
Yeah.
It involves so much more than just a period.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna link this book, Period Power, because she
Please, yes.
writes about how the hormones are affecting your life.
Oh my God, I need to read
Uh,
that. I am so certain my estrogen is really low. Like, I'm so certain I have really low estrogen, so I need to know.
Absolutely, I think in understanding the purpose of hormones and the
Yeah,
pattern,
that they
what they
yeah,
do.
they don't even tell you that, do they?
I have
I never
never.
actually learned that. I was just told that they were there.
I knew the names only because I did a thorough research before going to the doctor. I didn't know what they did. I just knew the name and I couldn't even pronounce them because
Yeah.
they're anyway. But I think
Yes.
we can close now. And
Okie dokie.
if you want, just come up another time.
I'd
Uh,
love to.
yeah, I tend to be here. I plan to be here every Monday, 3 to
Yeah.
5.
Cool.
3, yeah, 3 to 5. And yeah. Mm.
Okie dokie. But same link and everything, I'm guessing, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna make a list of all the links that we exchanged today.
Yeah, please do, because I really would
Mhm.
the young girl goddesses. That's something I would like
Oh,
to
the
look in.
Kumari, I put that one down.
Kumari, yeah, please.
Kumari.
That really tickled my interest. That.
That's so nice, honestly. Understanding that is
It sounds, it's very far out of my own culture,
absolutely.
um but it sounds very very interesting. I'd love to learn about it. Anyway, I need to start making my
Thanks
dinner,
so
so
much.
no
Aw.
worries. See you soon and good luck with your dissertation. All right,
Oh, bye, lovely. Have a good day.
bye. You as
Yeah.
well.